Hello and welcome to Lead, Learn, Connect, where we explore the worlds of training, coaching, and powerful leadership. I'm your host, Alan Krieger, and on this show we talk about not just the how of helping others grow, but the behind-the-scenes work of overcoming challenges and staying connected to what's really important. My guest today is Kate Young, a former English teacher turned learning and development specialist. She brings her classroom experience into the workplace, creating training that's clear, engaging, and impactful. She currently leads learning strategy for a manufacturing company, managing the LMS, designing interactive training experiences, and facilitating programs that support workforce development. Whether you're a new trainer, a seasoned facilitator, or just curious about what it takes to really thrive in this world, this episode is for you. Welcome, Kate.
Hi, Alan.
Thanks for being on here. I appreciate your taking the time. So tell us a little bit about the kinds of training you do. You cover kind of a wide range of training. And what are some of the tips that you use to get people engaged, especially if it's kind of mandatory training or something they've been voluntold to show up?
Yeah, so because it is a manufacturing company, there is a lot of compliance that we have to do. So there's also a lot of safety, but we also do some technical training and some leadership, some soft skills. Is that the nice thing about where I work is that there is a lot of support for people to grow in their roles. So beyond the mandatory, hey, I need you to take this course because the government says so, or hey, I need you to take this course because you have to learn how to build part ABC. We also have those pieces that just allow our employees to develop and grow and help the company develop and grow too. But and you know, a lot of times because it is compliance, there's a lot of grumbling that happens of, oh, I have to do this. And so one of the things that I always try and do is make sure that it's different year to year. Like I don't just keep the same safety video and roll it out year after year after year, because that's one way to 100% kill any kind of interest or any kind of attention. So I try and find something different each year to put in. And I also try and make it, I have a little fun with it sometimes. There was a great video we had to do for welding safety, how to use PPE. And there was one of the companies that actually makes the equipment put out a safety video. And it was very much in the Mystery Science Theater kind of frame where you would have the information on screen and then like shadow puppets that were making comments here and there. And that was something that had not been done before or seen before. And they're like, oh, this is actually kind of good. And so they paid attention and there was a lot more buy-in for that kind of a thing. So that's a big piece, is just making it fresh and new, especially if it's an annual piece.
And as I said in the intro, you started out as an English teacher and you've ended up in manufacturing. Talk a little bit about your journey and how you got from there to here.
It was a very interesting path. So I started teaching in 2008. So I got bounced around to a few different schools because of budget cuts. Is that being low man on the totem pole, you got to cut the budget. So I went from a lot of different schools, rural schools, or long-term sub positions, just being in the school district however I could, until I landed something a little bit more stable and was there for about 4 or 5 years. And, COVID happened and that changed a lot of how I taught and how I wanted to teach. And I kind of felt really comfortable being in front of a camera and doing some of those online learnings, like building e-learnings and having them be independent and interesting. And I wanted to lean more into that. So several close friends and family suggested maybe looking at a different angle, looking into more of that instructional design or into that adult learning kind of piece. So I did find a position for a company that works helping senior individuals, so anyone 55 and older, to get back into the workforce. And so my position was teaching individuals workforce skills, how do you use a computer? How do you write a resume? How do you interview? And uh, as true with any teacher, that you get to know the subject matter really well when you have to teach it. And that was a really great benefit, because I learned how to really communicate my teaching skills into something like changing the language to make it fit into a more corporate or more of an adult learning world. So, instead of saying I have classroom management, I have executive presence. Instead of saying I lesson plan, strategic planning. That kind of ability to write a really good resume or how to do that interview, because I was showing other people how to do it. I was learning it myself. And that allowed me to kind of step into uh, another role at my current company. So it was one of those things that just pieces kind of I had to build and step and continue to stretch myself. There was a lot of that resiliency that I just learned, because you put in a new place and you figure it out, and you have your own support network, but it's a lot of just seeing what you can do.
Okay, that's a big change. You had a couple steps in the path, but so anything you miss about being back in the classroom with kids?
Kids have a very unique way of just being, like, they're goofy and they're whimsical and they're silly, and they can certainly test your patience, that's for sure. But there's a lot of energy that is in a classroom with kids that I don't necessarily have with classroom of adults. It's a different kind of energy. So I miss that. I miss the energy. I miss the kids, and having them come in and tell me their stories and things like that. But in the current role, I hear a lot of different stories, and I see a lot of different people, and I get a different experience. Is that where I am at now? Because I'm kind of the specialist. I'm the one that people go to for whatever it is they need. Their team needs X. Well, let's talk to Kate, see how we can get X for them. And so that has a lot of value to me, as having that sense of, oh, you know what? When I give an idea, it's taken for a good, not just, maybe it's not always a good idea, but it's taken for something to think about and talk about, and not just swept under the carpet. So that is a really good thing about where I'm at now. And I do have some mentoring that I do, and I have that ability to still, like I said, talk to people and hear some stories, and still get some of that energy from people.
Okay. So I think one of the challenges I would think coming from a non-technical background into a technical manufacturing world, if you're out there teaching anything about the process, procedure, how did you develop credibility? Do you have credibility? What did you do to get there? And how do you handle it when people just challenge you and say, "Hey, you're not on the floor. You don't know what you're talking about."
I tend to talk with subject matter experts, is the SMEs. Is if I need to do something that is technical, that is outside my wheelhouse, I will go talk to that person. So this person does the job every day. They're on this machine every day. Great. Let me go watch them do what they do. Let me go talk to them, ask them what is getting in their way, or what are their tips, or talk me through the process. So I have my little notebook, and I'm standing there on the floor taking notes. So where I and set up a Teams call, and I talk them through the internet or through the video call. And we, you know, because of what I'm building is coming from them, it helps to build that, is that I'm somebody who will listen to them, and I will use their information and use their scenarios, and not just do what I think is right, is that I'm building it for them, with them. And that helps a lot with that credibility, with that sense of, oh, all right, yep, this is something to actually work off of. It's not always perfect. There still is always challenges. There's going to be people who don't always buy in. But if I can get support from others, they can help back it, and they can kind of champion some of what we're doing too.
Okay, so you try to partner with maybe influential people, key people, and get them to say good things about what you're doing, and that helps bring the credibility from the other folks.
Some of that, yeah, and just having the correct information. I don't just Google how to
Right.
run this machine. As I go and talk to them and I take video of them running it, and so they become part of the process in it
Hmm.
too, and that helps really make a difference.
Okay, great. And we talked a little bit earlier about the kind of people you have to interact with. Manufacturing is often a fairly high pace. We got to move quick. We got to get things done. We got to do it right, but we got to get it done. And with my team communication styles model, you scored high on the A.M. The A being the analytical. Let's take our time. Let's be right. Like you just said, you're out. You interview them. You talk to them. You do the video. You check back. Very, very step by step, careful process is the A process. And then M is the personal. I really like the kids telling stories. In the new place, I get stories from adults, and it's different stories. It's not as goofy, but it's interesting. So there's that personal. And then you're dealing with, the classic manufacturing model is the T or tell style, which is really quick, direct to the point. I don't want to tell stories. I don't want to hear your stories. I just want to do this and move on. So how do you adjust to that, or do you adjust? And what's been your experience of working in that kind of an environment?
So I, have a little bit of a superpower, is what I like to look at it. Is that I can get a really good read on what somebody needs from me. And so if I'm getting that sense within the first, 5 seconds of, okay, get to the point, got it. I will adjust my style for it. When I'm building the e-learning modules for individuals, is that I will do a mix. So maybe the scenarios might be that story, might give you more of that information, but some of the other slides will be very just 3 bullet points moving on, the key points and whatnot. So I do a mix to make sure that I'm able to get kind of everyone engaged and interested, and get the information that they need. And sometimes I have to pull myself back. Sometimes I will write a script that is way too detailed and too much, and go, oh, nope, let me cut this, cut that. So I do have to kind of check myself sometimes as well. But it is, there's a lot of, there's still a lot of, analysis that happens. There still is some problem solving, some, oh, this part broke. Well, why did it break? And there's still some of that kind of, root cause analysis that happens. So that analytical part, that A style, because I ask questions, because I want to engage them in that kind of thought process, it does help sometimes. It takes them aback of like, oh, wait, you want to know this? I'm like, yes, I want to know this. I'm interested in this. This helps me do my job if I know why this feeds into that, or why this piece goes with this. So there's part of that, I said, mixture of being able to get that T, that telling to the point. Those are your main bullet points that you might have on the beginning slide and end slide and a couple in between, but then you have the why behind it. I find just generally in adult learning, even with kids learning, is they want to know the why. Why is this
Mhm.
important? Why does this matter? How is this going to help me do my job? Is they're not going to have a buy-in if they don't have a reason for it. So you have to build that in somewhere, whether that's in the actual training, whether that's in the communication that goes out before or after. There has to be that why. Otherwise, it just doesn't land.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Is people want context. They want to know that it's worth learning this. It's not just you're telling me because I have to know it, but I can use it and has some value. Yeah, and you
Even with
mentioned you.
compliance, right?
Yep.
So like even with the safety stuff, or the the everyone's favorite sexual harassment and discrimination prevention training that we have to do for New York State, there's still a reason why, and there's still, even if you put in, well, because people have these, they misstep and they misspeak and they put it, they have problems. Here's how much it costs us to deal with those. So long as you have that why, even with the voluntelling as you put it, right? Those courses you're voluntold to do. It does help get some of that buy-in.
Okay. Yeah, and you mentioned your superpower of being able to read other people, and that's fairly typical of the M mediate style. They're great listeners, and but what I think what your superpower is that you can then change. So lots of mediators can read other people, but to change their way of speaking to get to 3 bullet points is really hard. So congratulations on being able to make that adjustment. I think that's key. What are some of the challenges you face, not just in the classroom, but in the organization? You said when you make comments, people listen and they take it into consideration, which is great. Um, some people have shared that management wants the training done really quick. Let's get it in, get it done, get them back on the floor. And sometimes as a trainer, we need a little bit more time. We have to go in a little more depth. We need some follow up. So how does that play out, and what are some of your techniques for being successful as an advocate?
So that is something that I've had run-ins with, of the, well, why can't you just do this in a week? Well, I can't have 100 people get through a training in a week. Is that, there's timing that has to happen. So what I will often do is, I've established a pattern at this point of how long it takes me to build something, or how long it takes to launch it. So now that they're a little bit familiar with that framework or that process, as we actually have written an SOP, a standard operating procedure for training launches, that has helped in the, okay, well, if I want this and it's this kind of training, I know Kate needs this, this, and this, so it's going to take this time. And so it does help them with planning a little bit. But it has taken a year to get that pattern into place, because there is that sense of, if they're not on the floor making the widget, then we're not making the money.
Yep.
And what I found is, actually with our e-learning, so being able to launch it and have them do it independently at their workstations, it does take less time than taking them all up to the training room and having them all sit down and doing the attendance and then putting the video up on the screen that they have to do. And so I was able to actually show that cost savings of, hey, instead of doing the OSHA safety training like this, which takes us, 55 minutes plus, we can get it done in 35 minutes by doing it this way. And so that has helped a bit, as well as showing that by doing it this way, if we can continue on this process, if we continue using this workflow, we will end up making it faster in the end. And so that is also done a little bit, as I gave them the numbers, I gave them the data, is that speaks, especially in a manufacturing company or a lot of other companies, is if you give them the data behind something, it tends to register, right? It's not just, yeah, it takes less time. No, it takes exactly 32 minutes less time, which equals this much more, production.
So it took some time to set it up, but that investment is paying a return on long-term savings. So good.
Exactly.
How about one of the more softer issues, what someone called the essential skills, which I like better than the soft skills, but the interpersonal stuff. You don't need that to run a machine. You and the machine get along just fine. But obviously, people are part of a team and part of a network, um, and that's a harder one to just say, here, watch this video, and boom, now you're a communicator. So you either need the in-person or you need a follow-up. So how do you present that to management as a good investment? That's, the numbers are harder to pull. You can't say, well, we have 2.4% better communication now. So what do you do, and how do you approach that?
So I'm lucky in that my company has a sense of the value of building their people up. And so I have less of a fight with it. But one of the things that we do look at is, retention rates, right? So you can still get data on this communication course now is helping people talk to each other and reducing conflict, so they're staying longer, or there's less complaints coming to HR, or there's still metrics that you can pull even for those essential skills.
Hmm.
and you can leverage that in those communications. If you don't have a company that is, I said, mine is great, and they want people to grow and they want to support individuals, is that they work with local colleges to send lead to succeed type courses, or kind of in-house building up as people move from point A to point B to point C, and so we're supporting them through that pathway. um, is that if you don't have that, there are metrics, and I would suggest pulling some of those metrics to help support you in if you're getting pushback on it.
Okay, there's your analytical style coming in to get some good hard data. So that's great.
It talks. Data really makes a difference to so many different people.
We're just about out of time. Is there any kind of closing thoughts you want to leave us with before we wrap up?
I would say that when you are working as a educator in any format, whether it's working with students in the public school system or working with adults, you're still educating. And it still is about knowing your audience and working with them. And that does require a little bit of people reading. It requires some thought into it. But, the way that I kind of view what I do is my job is to make your job easier. Whether that is as a kid, making it so that you can move to your next step, get to the next grade level, or get to the career you want. Or now when I'm working with, machinists or professionals, is how can I make your day go smoother without these bumps? And so I think that is part of who I am and what I want to do, and how that drives most of my lesson planning, my curriculum planning, my engagement in that specialist field, is what can I do to make your job easier, and then kind of jump in and work with everyone around me to make that happen. I think
Okay,
that's important.
great. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think one of the great motivational strategies is the what's in it for me, laying that out for people. And so you're talking about how can I make your job easier? How can I make your day better? How can I make conflict go down? Whatever the issues may be, you're going from what they want, their needs, and hopefully delivering something. And then now you become a valuable resource for them instead of, oh, someone I got to go to class for. So yeah, that's great. I think that. Okay, well, that's it. So thank you, Kate. That's it for today's episode of Lead, Learn, Connect. A huge thank you to Kate Young for sharing her experience and knowledge. If you found this to be helpful, please be sure to subscribe, share it with a colleague, and leave a review. You can find out more about Kate and how to get in touch in the show notes. And if you're ready to strengthen how you teach or coach communication, click the link to our website to learn more about the T.E.A.M model of communication. And follow us on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep leading with intention, keep learning, and keep connecting. Thanks for listening.